Hey, welcome back everybody. Should be an interesting video here today at Blue Glow Electronics. It's been kind of a 2 week blur at this point. I've been on quite a journey and I will take you step by step through what the last 2 weeks have been like. Sorry I haven't made any videos in a while, but I think this will help you understand a little bit of what all we've had going on. All right, so the first phase of this journey was the week before last. My wife and I caught a flight out of Greensboro, North Carolina to Bangor, Maine, a one-way flight. And then we went and rented a large van and headed towards Gary's house. And met up with Gary there. Snow everywhere. I'm not moving to Bangor, Maine anytime soon. But got to Gary's house and spent the better part of an entire day then with Gary doing classroom style education for me. Now, the way this went was Gary was kind enough over the Christmas holidays. He basically wrote me 2 books. This first book that he wrote me here was just full here of how to rewind a transformer, how to unpot a transformer, how to repot a transformer, how to count windings, how to use the winding machine, how to do hot pot tests, you name it, it's in here on how to successfully rewind a transformer. And then he kind of had a thing here on all of his data sheets and how to read those properly, and a lot of pictorials on how things work, how to set your bobbins up and whatnot. And so I got those a few months ago, and fortunately I had the time to read over those, really study them well. So when I got there to Gary's house, it was just a matter of us then kind of walking practically through how to do all this, since I'd already studied most of the technical how-to here. And Gary was a great instructor. He kind of had me a little chair set up and a whiteboard, and we just kind of went for hours and hours of him teaching me, various aspects and elements, and me asking a lot of questions, and just really bringing some clarity to the whole process and whatnot. So hats off to Gary. He did a great job making this transition easy and providing the knowledge there. And I've also got him available as needed to call with questions over time or whatnot. But I think the transaction's complete at this point in time. Really, what I ended up getting from Gary was one, all of his equipment. So that's a combination of rewind machines, drill presses, high pot machine or tester, you name it. There's a little bit of a lot of things there, equipment wise. Let's see. Oh, wire, lots and lots and lots of copper wire that was his kind of inventory to do winding with. And then probably the most valuable thing I got was Gary's data sheet. So every transformer that Gary has ever rewound, he has detailed data sheets that he built for each of those transformers. In other words, if you've got a transformer and you've never done one before of that model, you're going to have to unwind that transformer and count every single winding. There's 732 windings of this layer, and there's 984 windings of that layer, and there's this much insulation in between these layers, and these two layers are wound together kind of bifilar and whatnot. You got to know all that detail, so when you go to put it back together, you've kind of got all the details laid out in front of you. So Gary did an amazing job creating these spec sheets over the years, and I've now obtained all those spec sheets. So today they are all in paper format. Gary had them in filing cabinets, and I'm hoping to scan all those in and have them, for my own use in my own database or whatnot. But it'd be a great time saver going forward to already have that information laid out. And then lastly, Gary did the training and the knowledge transfer, and he's offered to be there in the future for support, as well as the website and the company name, things of that nature I've gotten at this point in time. So all in all, I think it was a fair price we agreed to between the two of us, and I think we both walked away happy at this point in time. So hats off to Gary. He's been a great partner in this whole thing, and looking forward to kind of carrying the legend he put together over 30 years forward. Don't know how quick that'll come about. We'll talk about that more here in a minute, but that's ultimately the intent, is when I retire one day to be able to offer this service kind of full time. So, all right. So then we loaded up the van after the day of training or whatnot, and started heading south. And I had a second stop planned, and we'll get into that. All right, if I roll back the clock to September of 2018, I got an email into my inbox one day that basically said, hey, I've came in possession of a bunch of Western Electric gear, and saw you had a YouTube video on some Western Electric gear. This guy was basically saying, hey, I wish, I was hoping you could help guide me a little bit into what I might have here. He was basically saying he was a guitar guy, and he had came across this with stuff from a retired guy that he had worked with, and had obtained a bunch of Western Electric stuff. And there was a long list of stuff he had there that was Western Electric. And I looked at the list, and I kind of sent him a note back, basically saying, hey, that's some nice stuff. There's no doubt about it, and it's certainly got some value to it. But what are you looking to do? And basically the guy was saying, hey, he's mostly interested in unloading it and selling the gear or whatnot. So I said, well, if you're going to sell it to somebody, it might as well be me. But at any rate, it was a long journey from September of last year till now. I guess that's what, October, November, December, January, February, March. Here about 6 months worth of kind of back and forth. We both had some stuff going on in our personal lives, and so sometimes the emails would go dark for a few weeks or a month or whatnot, and then we'd pick it back up. But ultimately, I ended up striking a deal with this guy to kind of acquire all this Western Electric gear. And so he lives in Pennsylvania, and so I was going to be driving from Bangor, Maine to Mocksville, North Carolina, which is about depends on how you take it, 17 to 18 hour drive. And so my wife and I, I reached out to the guy and I said, my wife and I are going to be making this drive down. We're going to have a van with us. One, I don't know if I'll have enough room in the van until I get to Gary's house and load up. And two, I don't know exactly what time it would be. So if you can be flexible with some of that, maybe we can work something out. And turned out I had enough room in the van to pick up the stuff, and turned out timing wise, I was able to meet this guy at a mall in, I think it was Cherry Hill, New Jersey, something like that. Late on, what would that have been? Saturday night, I think it was. As a good, I don't know how many hours into my trek I was at that point, maybe 8 or so. But ended up meeting up with him that night and loaded up the van with all this equipment. And so I'm extremely happy to own this stuff, and I feel like we struck a fair price. I didn't rob the guy, and he knows what the stuff was worth. It doesn't take you long on eBay to kind of figure it out. But I thought I'd walk you through some of what I picked up. Pretty cool stuff. All right, these are some more current Western Electric amps made by Duquesne. I've got several of these already, but they're climbing in value, and these are just some super clean examples of them, so I was glad to get this pair. Up next, probably the cleanest Western Electric 124 I've ever seen. The thing looks like brand new. Came out of a Telco closet somewhere, and this thing is just absolutely immaculate. So it's probably the prize of the whole bunch here. Then I got a pair of these. They're basically later model 124s, but they both have the 618B input transformers. As you can see here, I've actually got a third one of these that I already owned, and I've been having a hard time finding any info. This is a 6L6 Western Electric in a cage. This is a 142 amp in a cage. Pair of Western Electric speakers, which if you take a guess what's inside here, is a pair of Altec 755A speakers. Super excited about that. Things are mint. And then just some various tubes, 348As. Got the shields and everything for them, as well as some 350Bs, 274B, so on and so forth. Really good haul in my mind. So yeah, the short and narrow of is a lot of good stuff. Pair of the Duquesne amps, Mint 124C amplifier with a 618 B input transformer, a pair of the later model 124s with the 618Bs on those, a pretty darn close to Mint 142, I think it's a C model in a cage, the two Western Electric / Altec 755 speakers, some random tubes, and then there were just some various, the guy had put in some Western Electric emblems and things I guess he had picked up along the way. But I was super excited with the haul. Super excited to get those speakers. I've always wanted to own a pair of those, just never been willing to really lay out the dough for them. So glad to have all this in the collection at this point. All right, so we loaded all that into the van. As you can see here, van's about overstuffed at this point in time. And we headed south and got home. And that's where things got really squirrely for me. So I got home Sunday about 5 p.m. My wife and I stopped by Subway on the way, and because we were just too tired to cook. 18-hour drive in 2 days is it's a lot. I don't care what anybody tells you. At any rate, got home that evening, and on the drive during this 18-hour drive, every time we would stop and go to the restroom or get something to eat or whatever, my arms were kind of tingling. And I thought it was just from driving a van. I was not used to driving and whatnot, and I really didn't pay it a lot of attention. But got home Friday or Sunday about 5. My wife and I were sitting on the couch eating, and all of a sudden my chest starts hurting as well. And my wife's like, that doesn't sound good. So we headed up to Baptist Hospital here in Winston-Salem, which is a wonderful facility. At any rate, I get there, they check my vitals, things look good, blood pressure was good, my EKG was good, but they ran some blood work, and they came back after they ran the blood work, and they said, something's not right here, you've got some enzyme levels way out of whack. And about that time is when I started having my heart attack. And so for 45 minutes then, I went through a massive heart attack, and they finally stopped it they called a doctor in, put me on the surgery table, and did a catheterization, inserted 2 stents into what they call my LAD, left anterior descending artery, that had completely collapsed. And fortunately, I was in the hospital when I actually had the heart attack, and I'm fortunate enough to be here today, still talking to you guys. So I can tell you this is going to be a life-changing event for me. Not only my diet, exercise, but just, maybe slowing down a little bit. I burn all ends of the candle. I've got fires lit on both ends, and in the middle, typically, I sleep very little. And all of that may have contributed to where I'm at today. So I don't know what this means other than it's a life-changing event. I know right now I can't lift more than 10 pounds. I came home Tuesday night, I think it was, Wednesday. Just been home 2 days now, and from the hospital. And the biggest challenge I've got is looks like I sustained some damage from this heart attack. My heart volume was about at 35% when I left the hospital. And they said that an average 50-year-olds is probably somewhere in the 50 to 60% range. So it's not like I'm down from 100. I'm just down from maybe 60% or so. So hopefully I'll regain some of this back. I'll go through cardiac rehab and whatnot. But my working on gear is gotta slow down, because as of right now I can't even lift a piece of gear to work on it. So maybe the good news for us here on my channel is that I can't drive for until I go back to the cardiologist at the end of the month, so I'll be working remote or from home a good bit. Maybe I can do some educational videos or something where I don't have to exert a lot of physical strength to do that. I couldn't pick an amp up and put it on the bench right now if I wanted to. So, at any rate, it is what it is. I'm going to change the lifestyle, that's for sure. And I just want to keep you guys informed. If I've got any of your gear and you're waiting on it, it might be a while, and I apologize for that. But yeah, there's not a lot I can do right now that's not non-strenuous or whatnot. So stay tuned. I'll keep you updated in these Soapbox Sundays as I make progress and find out more about what this means long term or whatnot. But thanks for all my viewers, and we'll keep you posted.